On the day of their 50th wedding anniversary, Augustine proposed a divorce from Diana. It was only because Augustine's lover was ill and wanted to travel the world to commemorate her last days in this world. I've already wasted a lifetime with you. From now on, I just want to be with her. Even their daughter advised Diana to be magnanimous. Why are you fighting with a sick person? Honestly, I wish Mrs Lin were my mother. 50 years of being a good wife and mother. Nothing but a joke. After dying from a brain hemorrhage in anger, Diana miraculously reborn on the day of her engagement. At that time, because of her call, Augustine ran away and didn't return for a long time. This time, Diana didn't wait any longer. She just wanted to leave this place forever, never to see him again. Chapter 1. The dazzling white light forced Diana to open her eyes. Diana's mother kept pushing Diana, her sharp voice echoing in the ears, "Hurry and call Augustine. The engagement banquet is about to start." Looking at Diana's mother's ever-expanding face, Diana became fully alert, scanning her surroundings warily, her body involuntarily swaying. Heaven opened its eyes. She actually rebirthed. Today is her engagement banquet with Augustine, but he abandoned her halfway to find Laura, who was being harassed by a thug. "What are you standing there for when I told you to call?" The joy of rebirth made Diana smile foolishly, remaining indifferent and deaf to the angry shouts of Diana's mother as she slowly walked out of the private room. "Hey, where are you going? It's about to start." By the time Augustine hurried to the restaurant, there was no sign of Diana. In the corner, Diana's father and mother were impatiently calling Diana, but the call never went through. "Keep calling that damn girl." Diana's mother casually looked up and saw Augustine hurrying over. "Oh, son-in-law, you're here." This Diana might have gone to the bathroom, but the call won't go through. Augustine let go of Laura's hand and also started calling Diana. Still no answer. He angrily threw his phone onto the sofa. "If you have the guts, just don't answer for the rest of your life." Diana's father and Diana's mother exchanged anxious glances and hurriedly smiled at Augustine. "Diana must have been delayed. She will definitely come. She likes you so much." They are afraid of losing Augustine, this golden son-in-law. They are also worried that Augustine's promise to buy a house for their youngest son will fall through. Laura appeared quite flustered, tugging at Augustine's sleeve. "Augustine, do you think Diana really won't come? Is she angry? Is it because you were late?" Diana and Laura were college roommates and also Diana's best friend from the past. Little did she know that at some point, she had gotten involved with Diana's fiancé and had become the unattainable person for this fiancé. Augustine gently brushed her hair ends, his gaze focused. "How is that possible? Diana is so generous. How could she get angry so easily?" Laura's eyes were misty. "Mr. and Mrs. I just encountered a little thug on my way here. Couldn't break free. And in my panic, I could only plead with Augustine brother to save me. I don't know if that's why Diana is angry. I hope Diana won't overthink it. There's nothing between me and Augustine brother." She spoke earnestly and bowed deeply after finishing. "But the fact is, being entangled with a little punk is completely fabricated." Laura just wanted to prove how important she is to Augustine. Time passed by second, yet there was no sign of Diana. Augustine furrowed his brows and leaned against the corridor of the restaurant, smoking heavily. Laura was also a bit anxious, tugging at Augustine's sleeve and murmuring, "Diana is being too much. Doesn't she understand what it means to?" Augustine suddenly became furious, smashing a bottle of champagne on the small cart. "Shut up. You're driving me crazy." Laura was startled and closed her mouth sulkily, but the tears kept flowing. In one moment, Augustine was furious, his face turning red, and in the next moment, he softened. He gently patted her back and reassured her. "I'm just anxious. I'm not angry at you. It's just that we could have discussed a few projects during the engagement banquet tonight." Diana's parents were also cursing and pacing around the private room. "This unfilial daughter is simply brazen. I must teach her a lesson." The restaurant closes at 10 o'clock in the evening. Diana still hasn't shown up. Augustine angrily returned to the apartment to find Diana. As a result, the apartment was empty. He ran to the small apartment where Diana used to live to look for her. Knock, 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 knock. "Diana, hurry up and open the door for me." The entire building was awakened by Augustine's banging on the door, and residents opened their doors to scold him for being rude. At that moment, Diana opened the door. "Sir, I have already called the police about your harassment." Augustine instantly froze in his tracks, gripping his phone tightly, his expression growing darker. "What did you say?" Laura was hiding behind Augustine, shivering as she looked at Diana, her expression as pitiful as it could be. In the last life, the cold words of her daughter Helen Kim seemed to replay endlessly in Diana's mind. "Why are you arguing with a patient? Seriously, I would rather Mrs. Lin be my mother." After death, Diana became a spirit, floating in the air, watching her daughter face her own corpse. She remained unmoved. She even let out a sigh of relief, as if to say, "It's better this way." How could the daughter born after 10 months of pregnancy be so blind and foolish? Somehow, later Diana drifted back to Augustine's side, looking at her husband, with whom she had been married for nearly 30 years, standing in the airport lobby holding a suitcase and leading Laura by the hand. It seemed insufficient. He embraced her again to comfort her. "I have already divorced Diana. I will always be with you for the rest of my days. I hate that I can't spend more time with you. A lifetime is too short. We must be together in the next life. I really shouldn't have married Diana. We should have been together from the start." The girl's eyes were slightly moist, her voice ethereal. "I hate it too. Augustine, I really miss you so much." He kissed her as if in a fit of rage. That lingering love pierced Diana's eyes painfully. The final memories of life, like a revolving lantern. It is a shame that Diana must remember well. Pulling herself back from the whirlpool of memories, Diana raised her gaze to look at the current Augustine. His face was cold and expressionless, wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, exuding an indescribable sense of oppression. "Why did you leave the engagement banquet?" Diana raised an eyebrow, seemingly with a smile in her eyes, yet the smile did not reach the depths of her gaze. How dare he question? "I'm tired of waiting. I don't want to wait anymore." "What? Is that not allowed?" Chapter 2. It's too unreasonable. This is Augustine's most genuine thought. "Aren't you different from before?" Diana smiled. Augustine is the least qualified person to say that. In the last life, Diana married Augustine at the age of 27. On the day of the wedding, however, Augustine went to find Laura again, abandoning her once more. Diana stood at the end of the red carpet in a pure white wedding dress. Yet Augustine's figure was nowhere to be seen. Both families kept calling Augustine, but there was no answer on the other end. Just a busy signal. At that moment, Diana's heart felt like ashes. Facing countless media cameras and the overwhelming tide of slander and doubt, she held back her tears. Her smile had already become stiff. Finally, his assistant managed to get through on the phone. "What's going on, boss? You should hurry over. There are so many people. What could be more important than the wedding?" It was only until the last wedding guest had left and only the host remained that Augustine finally rushed in. The lipstick mark on the collar of his shirt was so obvious. Yet Diana still chose to ignore it, because she truly liked Augustine. Even though Augustine had to go find Laura during such an important moment in life, Diana forced a bitter smile and exchanged rings with Augustine, completing the ceremony. Afterward, Augustine explained to Diana that it was because Laura had threatened to commit suicide, and he had to go. If Laura was threatening to commit suicide, why did she call someone else's husband? It's really puzzling. What was I like before? Besides, you were the one who was late, right? Why should I wait there for you? To let everyone see me as a joke? To wait for you to bring Laura over in front of everyone? Diana approached him, shaking her head repeatedly, then looked at Laura beside her. "Stop pretending to be pitiful. You dead green tea bitch." "Laura, you know better than anyone whether there are any little hoodlums around." Laura's face turned from pale to red, changing as dramatically as a face-changing performance. Augustine still pressed on. "Do you have any idea how many big shots are here? If you want to leave, just go. Have you lost your mind? I think you must have had your brain kicked by a donkey to be late for such an important occasion." "Augustine, I will not marry you. I want to break up with you." Diana was too lazy to argue with him and pushed his hand away to close the door. He was stunned. "Break up? Diana, I do not agree. Meanwhile, the elevator doors opened, and 2 police officers stepped out, asking, "Who reported the harassment?" "It's those 2. They're so noisy." Diana slammed the door shut with a bang. Upon returning home, she discovered that she had already received a response to the resume she had just submitted. Fortunately, at this time, Diana had just graduated from her master's program, and the knowledge she gained in school was still fresh in her mind. The works that participated in the competition back then are still kept. "Hello, may I ask when you will come to the company?" Diana replied, "Within a month." Diana will no longer give up her future for anyone. The future has never been a multiple-choice question. Diana holds the mobile phone, her heart more resolute than ever. Augustine and Laura had just come out of the police station, and it was almost midnight. He was somewhat puzzled. Laura had called him saying there were some thugs. As a result, Augustine arrived at the alley and saw some punks. "Laura, are there really punks?" "There really are. Don't you believe me? If you hadn't come, I might have really been done for tonight." Augustine was half convinced, but said nothing more and sent Laura home. The next afternoon, Augustine waited at the entrance of the apartment building. "I won't cancel the engagement banquet." "Diana, what on earth is wrong with you?" Diana was about to speak when she was interrupted by the ringing. Augustine hastily answered. She heard a soft, sweet voice on the other end of the line. It was Laura. "Augustine, the light bulb at home is broken. Can you come and change it for me? It's flickering, and I'm so scared." With a hint of a lingering tone, Augustine looked a bit flustered. "All right, I'll come over right away." He turned to Diana, his expression full of apology. "I'm sorry. I can't go home with you. Please tell Mr. Mao and Mrs. Mao I'm sorry. I'll personally come to apologize the day after tomorrow." The words were on the tip of his tongue, but he hesitated. "I have a friend flying back from America to see me, and we might have dinner together tomorrow night." The wind and snow seemed to have intensified, blending the world into a vast expanse of white. Diana nodded slowly. "It's fine. You go ahead." Augustine, seeing that the woman did not pursue the matter further, quickly breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly left after escorting Diana to the corner. He was clearly going to find Laura. Diana heard everything. That woman, Laura, has a husband of her own but insists on calling someone else's fiancé over. It's utterly ridiculous. After getting out of the car, Diana flagged down a taxi by the roadside. Diana's mother, seeing no sign of Augustine, became even angrier and rushed over to slap Diana hard across the face. "You worthless piece of trash. Where were you yesterday?" Diana's father was also sweating profusely. "How many calls did I make to you that you didn't answer? Are you angry with your father-in-law? Did you apologize to him? Did you explain? The engagement cannot be cancelled. What about the retirement house for your mother and me? What about your brother Domingo's living expenses? What will happen when you get married? Buy a car, and buy a house?" Fists pounded on the tea table with a loud thud. "Domingo is already 22. He has the ability to earn his own living, and I have already broken up with Augustine. I will not marry him, so you can give up that thought." Diana's mother, stunned, raised her hand to slap her. Diana lightly dodged. "I'm not here to discuss with you. I'm here to inform you that in 2 days I will be working in City C. If it's about Augustine, don't call me." Diana's father, agitated, rushed over in 3 steps and snatched Diana's handbag, dumping all its contents out. He took the remaining 10 or so red bills from the wallet. "Where's the money? Take all the money out." Diana looked at the pure white ceiling, tears welling in her eyes, with no strength left to refute or resist. The unreasonable parents and the lazy younger brother. This family has nothing to do with her. Oh, it does. She is merely the blood bag of this family. Nothing more. Diana's father counted the number of red bills and sharply scolded. "Why are there only these few?" He violently threw the bag on the ground and stomped on it a few times. Diana's mother still unyieldingly tugged at Diana's sleeve, hysterically yelling at her, "How can you be so heartless? Augustine has treated you so well. Why are you so ungrateful?" Yes, Augustine is very good. Once upon a time, Diana fell ill, and at midnight, just for her wish to eat strawberry cake, he knocked on the cake shop door for 2 hours. The retired chef finally agreed to teach Augustine how to make. Augustine knew that Diana liked magnolias, so he specially invited a gardener to take care of them, even gathering all the varieties of magnolias just to make her smile. He even deployed hundreds of drones to express his love to Diana, wanting to tell everyone he loves Diana and swore that in this life, he would only love Diana. But that was in the past. Diana looked deeply at the man slumped on the sofa. Domingo, if you continue like this, I will lose respect for you. Domingo slumped on the sofa, indifferent to Diana's gaze, deliberately dragging out his tone, chuckling softly. I look down on you too. You can't even hold on to a man's heart. Diana glared fiercely at Domingo and then picked up her messy bag and left. After taking a few steps, I felt my hands and feet go weak. Leaning against the steps, my body slowly slid down, and I fell to the ground. After a long time, Diana finally regained her strength, wiped the tears from her face, and regrouped. It's okay. Leaving here will allow me to start a new life, but she still has one thing left to accomplish. Chapter 3. Diana returned to the small duplex apartment where she used to live with Augustine. The small home was decorated by her in a very cozy way. Though small, it had everything one could need. Only a few pots of succulents on the balcony have withered. Just as I was about to clean the flower pots, I heard the voices of two people talking downstairs. Diana peered out and saw Laura standing at the entrance with 4 or 5 large suitcases. I don't know why. Diana suddenly felt anxious, as if a rope was tightening around her heart. Augustine also realized Diana's presence, and he explained somewhat sheepishly, "Oh, Laura's husband passed away, and she and her daughter Helen Song will be staying with us for a while." Helen. Diana stared at the little girl in a daze for a long time, until she hid a bit behind Laura again. Diana straightened up, shrugged nonchalantly, and with a polite smile said, "You don't need to tell me. We've already broken up. I'll call a moving company in a couple of days to take my things away." Augustine looked up, his expression complicated. "Diana, are you still angry? I no longer blame you for not coming to the engagement banquet. Why are you still upset?" Laura understood and took a couple of steps back. "If Diana is unhappy, I will go stay in a hotel with Helen." She bit her lip, seemingly quite aggrieved, pulling her daughter Helen Song close, quickly lowering her head, her eyes darting around, then raising her head again, her face already brimming with tears, looking at Augustine with a pitiful expression. Augustine softened instantly. "Diana, when did you become so stingy? You and Laura have always been good friends." Helen also asked softly, "Mom, I don't want to stay in a hotel. I'm scared." Augustine glanced impatiently at Diana and decisively stated, leaving no room for Diana to argue, "All right. It's settled then. We'll stay at home, and I'll go tidy up the guest room." Diana raised an eyebrow, said nothing, and took the flower pot to the balcony. That night Diana did not go home, but set up 3 cameras in the apartment. She did not intend to spy, but having some substantial evidence would make it easier to cut ties when Augustine became entangled in the future. The next morning, Laura used Augustine's mobile phone to call Diana several times. Diana was overwhelmed. "Is there something going on? Diana, when are you coming back? How about we cook a meal together? I remember your cooking is excellent, and I miss the meals you made." Suddenly, fragments flashed through Diana's mind. In the last life, at this critical moment, Helen had severe vomiting and diarrhea after eating. Laura cried and accused her, insisting that she had poisoned the food. Augustine kept calling her a femme fatale, saying she was cruel. She squinted her eyes. She couldn't let this Laura off easily. Diana agreed immediately. She had to make Laura taste the bitterness of being unable to defend herself. Sure enough, after eating, Helen started to vomit and have diarrhea, foaming at the mouth, while continuously muttering Diana's name, her hand trembling as she pointed at Diana. Augustine's face suddenly darkened. "Diana, what have you done?" Laura held Helen's arm, swaying back and forth, looking anxious. "How cruel you are. I kindly called you back to try to mend our relationship, and you actually want to harm my child." Hastily sent to the hospital, the doctor said it was a food allergy. Augustine sat on the small stool by the hospital bed. "Is it really you?" Is it really me? Did I know what this child was allergic to the first time I saw her? Am I some kind of expert? So impressive? Diana crossed her arms and laughed sarcastically. Should I become a spy, able to see through what the beautiful country's president is allergic to? Laura was still crying, pointing at Diana and cursing. It's you. Why do you hate me so much? If you have something against me, just come at me. Helen is a piece of flesh on my body. You are too cruel. At that moment, Helen opened her eyes from the bed and immediately saw Laura with tear-filled eyes. Mom, I feel so uncomfortable. Laura met Helen's eyes, tears bursting forth, crying even harder. Why did you hurt my child? I know you don't like me, but the child is innocent. Diana pulled Laura away, her beautiful eyes bending as she smiled gently at him. Helen, tell Auntie what you are allergic to, okay? Helen was a bit confused, her gaze unconsciously shifting towards Laura, while Diana blocked her view. Please tell Auntie, okay? She stammered, it's shrimp. I'm allergic to shrimp. Aw, but that's not what the doctor said, is it? Diana sat back down on the chair, leisurely staring at Helen, a 5-year-old child who was not fully aware. That might be pig liver. She said something randomly. That's not it either. How can you not remember anything? Diana looked up at the anxious Laura. The vegetables were bought by your mother. She really is incompetent, not even knowing what you're allergic to. Laura froze for a moment, her heart racing, and instinctively wiped the layer of fine sweat from her forehead with her sleeve. Helen suddenly collapsed, crying out, it was my mom who gave me the mango. She made me say this. Diana stood up. Listen carefully. Both of you. This has nothing to do with me. Laura, you are truly heartless. To slander me, you would even harm your own daughter. Diana only felt exhausted. Before leaving the ward, she heard Laura rambling to Augustine. It's not like that. I didn't mean to do that to Helen. Speechless. It's hard to explain. Augustine said something, but Diana could no longer hear it. So Augustine really never loved her. In the previous life, he didn't listen to her explanation at all and just walked over to slap her twice. Even though Diana was a high climb for him, he was willing to marry her. But it was only because of a word from Kim that the Mao family had done him a favor. This was the beginning of Diana's misery, and also the beginning of Augustine's helplessness. Diana remembered that after graduating from university, she used her scholarship to buy 2 rings at a silver jewelry store. Not expensive, but it was the thought that counted. When Diana gave the ring to Augustine, he laughed heartily and spun Diana around several times. He promised that once he became successful in his career, he would buy the biggest pigeon egg for Diana. She believed him. The joy on his face when he received the engagement ring was deeply etched in Diana's heart. Back at the apartment, Diana began to pack her luggage. Just as she emptied the clothes from the wardrobe, the doorbell rang. After 2 rings, the person outside entered the password to unlock the door. It was Laura. She had cried to the point of exhaustion in the hospital, her face pale to the point of being unrecognizable. Standing in the living room with her bloodless lips bitten, Diana heard a sound and looked at Laura. When they were in college, Laura was Diana's best friend. They shared everything and were always together. Their relationship was so close that they even wore the same clothes. And everyone said she and Laura were like conjoined twins. But everything changed in their junior year when Augustine appeared. The original political education teacher became pregnant, and he was the new teacher who came to replace her. Hello everyone. I am your ideological and political education teacher. My name is Augustine. Augustine was very tall, at least 8 meters, and quite handsome. After just 1 class, he had already gained a large number of admirers. Diana and Laura are no exception. Diana has excellent grades, almost scoring full marks in every subject, and has consistently ranked first in the grade report. Augustine noticed her at a glance. Also because of Kim's grandfather's dying wish, he has to take extra care of Diana. Laura felt extremely unbalanced and launched a fierce pursuit of Augustine, but she was powerless to stop the later relationship between Diana and Augustine. The 2 of them completely fell out. Laura seemed to take revenge by getting married in a flash to a man introduced by her family right after graduation. Diana only learned after a long time that Laura was actually Augustine's beloved. Chapter 4. If you like Augustine so much, why did you break up with him back then? She chuckled lightly. If I didn't break up with Augustine, what business is it of yours? She and Augustine were forced to separate back then due to their significant family differences. Her father was a gambler, and they were also not of suitable ages. Who would have thought they would meet again at school after a few years? Laura stepped closer to Diana. Diana, why aren't you foolish anymore? You used to be so foolish, thinking that with just a little trickery I could keep you down. But I didn't expect I still underestimated you. She deliberately walked past Diana and circled the living room, finally stopping behind Diana. I came back to get my daughter's clothes. Augustine is at the hospital watching over her. She intentionally emphasized the latter half of her sentence, and Diana raised an eyebrow slightly. Laura found this statement quite thought-provoking. It sounds as if Laura's song isn't actually a song but a hymn. I thought your relationship was worth scrutinizing, but it turns out to be so fragile that it's hardly worth mentioning. Diana, do you really want to break up with Augustine? Do you think your money-obsessed parents and your useless brother will agree to this? Without Augustine, you are nothing. I actually hope you break up with him and move out. I could move in. It's too cramped with you living here. Her gaze was unfocused. Diana removed the ring from her ring finger and placed it on the table, but it was deliberately thrown into the nearby trash can by Laura. What is this? Can you not leave it here where it's in the way? Diana ignored what Laura said and bent down to pick up the ring from the empty trash can, placing it back on the table. However, Laura intentionally lifted her foot and stomped down hard on Diana's hand. The high heels she was wearing had thin, sharp heels, causing Diana to cry out in pain. Oh, I thought I stepped on garbage, but it was your hand. Sorry about that. Diana struggled to suppress the urge to hit her. Feeling cold all over, please finish what you need to do and leave quickly. Your daughter and your Augustine are waiting for you. My affairs are none of your concern. Laura still smiled, a sly smile, as she looked at Diana's clenched fists. Do you want to hit me? She unexpectedly grabbed Diana's hand and slapped herself hard across the face. Then she fell to the ground, and Laura called out with a trembling voice, Diana, I considered you a good friend, and you actually hit me. Her eyes immediately turned red. Augustine, as soon as I entered, I saw Laura kneeling on the ground, covering her face and crying uncontrollably, and standing there, expressionless, was Diana. Diana, I've explained it to you countless times. I have no relationship with Laura. She wholeheartedly regards you as a good friend, and she has apologized for what she did wrong today. Why do you keep being so aggressive? A huge joke. Apologize? Diana never heard it. Diana slowly shook her head, wondering how Augustine had become like this, completely unrecognizable, unable to distinguish right from wrong, always talking about Laura. Laura, I'm tired of listening. The man who stayed by Diana's side all night when she was sick is ultimately no longer here. What? What's wrong with me hitting her? I'm vicious. I'm shameless. I have a heart of a snake and scorpion. How did I become like this? Augustine, everything you wanted to say to me, I've already said for you. Seeing Diana's eyes filled with tears and her pale face, Augustine wanted to say something reassuring, but was interrupted by Laura's moans. Augustine immediately squatted beside her, cupping her face, revealing a clear handprint. Laura is really tough on herself. Diana, you really went too far this time. I'll take Laura to the hospital first. You should get some rest. Augustine picked up Laura and walked away. The snow seems to be falling even heavier, with scattered flakes drifting in through the loosely closed window. Diana shivered from the cold. The chill seemed to drill into the bones. This winter is just too cold. Diana rubbed her hands together. She remembered that she had died in a winter just like this in her previous life. That year was even colder than now. Diana contacted the moving company overnight, packed her things, and finally collapsed on the sofa. Her gaze lingered on the photo frame placed on the tea table. Inside was a photo of Laura and her daughter Helen. She couldn't believe that such bizarre things could happen in this world. But since she could be reborn, why couldn't Helen be reincarnated? When Diana arrived at the hospital, Laura was outside calling her ex-husband. Augustine shouldn't be there. Diana adjusted her clothes in front of her and smiled gently at Helen. Sister, This is the snack gift pack I bought for you, along with a lovely doll. Do you like it? Helen hesitated for a second before reaching out to take it. Thank you, Auntie. I really like the little rabbit. Diana is still smiling. Auntie, you are so gentle. Unlike my mom, who is always fierce and often argues with Dad at home. I want to eat candy, but she won't let me. Diana gently stroked her hair. Little sister, is your mom not good to you? No. Otherwise, Auntie, you can be my mom. Like a bolt from the blue, her back suddenly stiffened. Diana took her hand and gently patted it to comfort her. Then the ward door suddenly opened. What are you doing? Stay away from my daughter? Laura stormed over, pushing Diana aside in an instant. Has your mother ever told you not to talk to strangers? Do you not understand what I'm saying? Diana disdainfully took out a tissue to wipe her fingers. Miss Lin, you are too anxious. I haven't said anything, and I think you should treat your daughter better. Don't feed her anything dirty. Since she chose you as her mother, you should take responsibility. What? Augustine loves me. Are you jealous? I will be with Augustine properly, and I won't give you any chance to take advantage of it. You better stay with him. Or else what will you do if I show him the video on my phone? Laura instantly changed her expression, and she approached. What video? What video? You stop right there. After Diana walked far away, she still heard the little girls crying. I don't want you to be my mom. I don't want you to be my mom. After Diana quit her part-time temporary job, she went to the airport. The original fence of the airport was dismantled and replaced with smooth glass. But Diana still recognized at a glance that the place beneath her feet was where she first met Augustine. It was as if all time had condensed, bringing her thoughts back to the past. On the first day of the third year of university, Diana was late for registration. She rushed to the school with her suitcase, and only after returning to the dormitory did she realize she had taken the wrong suitcase. She couldn't believe that it was such a coincidence to have the exact same suitcase from the same flight. Although there were some subtle differences, Diana was just too anxious. She hurriedly ran to the airport to claim lost items, feeling guilty, and then encountered Augustine, who was also returning to search for something. She repeatedly bowed apologetically, saying I'm sorry over 20 times, which made the man laugh. Diana had imagined that her first encounter with her destined man would be like the emotional scenes in movies, or the romantic plots in novels, but she never expected it to be a mix-up. Augustine immediately recognized that Diana was the girl in the photo that Grandfather Kim had shown him before his passing. It's okay. Diana picked up the suitcase and noticed that the seal on it had not been broken. She instinctively asked, how did you know this isn't yours if you didn't open my suitcase? Augustine thought for a moment and replied, I saw the name Diana on it, so I didn't open it to check again, and I cannot invade your privacy. Diana bit her lips slightly and nodded. The second time we met was in a political science class. Diana almost gasped. It was him? Diana immediately stopped playing around with Laura and sat properly in the last row. Augustine's gaze lingered on Diana for a few seconds before moving away. He is a humorous and charming man, and the students all like him. After that, no one missed class again, and many students from other colleges even came to attend his lectures. The aisles were filled with students. Augustine had cleaned several times, but no matter what, he couldn't finish, so he had to give up. During the October welcome party, Diana, as a senior representative, co-hosted the event with the new teacher Augustine. To match Augustine's height, Diana wore high heels for the first time, struggling to walk but still persevering. When she lost her balance during the next scene, she fell directly into Augustine's arms, and he steadied her. Under the warm yellow spotlight, Augustine's deep gaze shimmered with light, his face radiating scattered shadows as he looked at her intently. The audience's cheers and jeers made Diana blush deeply, her heart racing wildly. After finishing her closing remarks, behind the empty red curtain, Diana couldn't help but kiss him just for a moment. Before Augustine could react, the girl had already pulled away. Augustine quickly grabbed Diana's wrist, supporting her waist as he kissed her deeply. This scene was captured by someone with intent and posted on the school's official website, immediately causing a huge uproar. However, the informant downplayed the situation, only posting a photo of Diana kissing Augustine. Until the last moment of her previous life, Diana only realized that the informant was actually Laura. At that time, posts about students liking their teachers were emerging endlessly online, and everyone was quite disgusted by such matters. The counselor also spoke with Diana, asking her if the photo was real. Diana was just about to confess when she was interrupted by Augustine. I think we are all adults now, and liking someone is a perfectly normal thing. Moreover, the photo belongs to P, and Diana and I are childhood friends who grew up together. The two families often interacted and were very familiar with each other. There was nothing inappropriate between them, and it was nothing like what was said online. We had nothing at all. Augustine's statement was posted on the official website, and the leaker quickly deleted the post, explaining that they were just playing around and apologized to Diana. Perhaps Augustine found Laura based on the IP address, or maybe they were already involved with each other at that time. But Diana was completely unaware. She was overwhelmed with gratitude and felt that she could not live without him. Kim. On the anniversary of the old man's death, Diana still accompanied Augustine to pay a visit. Augustine knelt before the tombstone, speaking earnestly, "May the heavens bless grandfather with happiness and health every day, and also bless grandmother, granting her a long life." Diana remembers he was an atheist, yet she still hoped for a miracle. Later, they became closer after having a few meals together. Augustine confessed on the day of the first snow, "I like you. Can you be my girlfriend?" His eyes were filled with love, trembling as he held Diana's hand. Diana was feeling a chaotic mess inside, yet she maintained her composure on the outside. "As usual, what do you like about me? I like your bravery and kindness, your sincerity and innocence. I like everything about you." And then they were together. When they were together, Augustine made many promises to her, to say that he would love only her for a lifetime, said he would give her the grandest wedding, said they want to have a lovely baby. Diana also responded to him, saying she trusts him. Diana almost gave everything for Augustine, accompanying him in starting a business, providing him with financial support, and offering emotional encouragement. Even at dinner parties, she helped him drink to the point of gastric perforation. When she woke up after gastric lavage, the ward was empty. Thunder. Laura is afraid. Augustine went to accompany her. So what is true love? Why is it so hard to remain consistent? Is it really that difficult to love someone? Diana doesn't understand, but whether she understands or not is no longer important. We have shared joys and sorrows, weathered storms together, but spilled water cannot be gathered again. She will not look back again. In the end, Diana was awakened by the flight attendant, and the world before her became clear from blurry. "Passengers, the flight will arrive in 15 minutes. Diana was still in a dream, and it took her a while to sluggishly respond with okay. She wiped away a tear, faintly remembering the beauty of their first meeting, yet she could not grasp it no matter how hard she tried. By the time Augustine returned home with Laura and her son, it was already 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The house was empty, desolate. The few photo frames that were placed on the table were all thrown into the trash can, and the photos were torn to shreds. Everything on the sink was completely cleared out, and nothing was left on the bedside table. Everything was taken away. There were completely no Diana's traces of life. The dead succulents on the balcony were also thrown into the trash can. Laura forced a calm expression. Did Diana move away? Augustine couldn't believe it and went to the master bedroom on the second floor. The closet had nothing but Laura's clothes. He fell to the ground in frustration. Did Diana really leave? He didn't believe it. His gaze finally landed on the ring on the table. Diana actually didn't want this either. Fine. If she doesn't want it, then he doesn't want it either. Augustine removed the ring from his ring finger and threw it into the trash can along with that one. Is Uncle crazy? Laura quickly covered her daughter's mouth. Diana, really? It's all my fault. Augustine snorted. It's all your fault. Why is Helen 5 years old and not in elementary school? Why did the doctor say this child's IQ is still at 3 years old? Augustine was haunted by the doctor's words. You need to take the child for treatment quickly. If you delay any longer, the child will be finished. What is wrong with you as parents? Laura knew she couldn't hide her daughter's situation. She had taken her to the hospital before, But the doctor said the recovery time would be very long. How could she have that much time? I was planning to wait a couple of days. A couple of days? You're still waiting for a couple of days. Laura, do you really love her? Augustine irritably tugged at his tie and kicked over the trash can next to the tea table, scattering the torn photos that lay inside. He lit a cigarette and walked to the balcony, yet did not take a puff. Help me check where Diana went. Augustine can't reach Diana on the phone. Switching to a landline still doesn't work. He vaguely felt that he might have done something wrong, yet he also felt that he had done nothing wrong at all. The next day Augustine calmly went to work. Many people he had collaborated with came to ask him about the reason for the cancellation of the engagement banquet, and he always smiled and replied, "It hasn't been cancelled. I'll notify you once the date is set." When the assistant knocked on the door at noon to ask Augustine what he wanted to eat, he instinctively blurted out, "Call Diana and have her bring lunch." Augustine only realized what he had said after he finished speaking. His expression changed, his jawline tightening more and more. Irritably closing the document, he reached out to open the drawer, pulling out the last coffee. Noticing a sticky note on top of it, Augustine casually tore it off. "This is the last one. I've already bought it for you. But still, try to drink less coffee." His expression darkened further as he tossed the note into the bottom drawer. He had never thrown away a single note written by Diana. "May I ask if I can have dinner with Mr. Kim tonight? The bento for lunch today. The strawberry jam on the fruit was made by me personally. Mr. Kim, remember to take your medicine 1 hour after lunch today." The colorful sticky notes, probably a few hundred, were all attached by Diana to the bento pocket. The all-pervasive concern and attentiveness were all proof of Diana's love for him. "Mr. Kim, the charity gala tonight needs a female companion, and I have already sent the prepared dress to Miss Mao." But the delivery person said no one was home. Augustine's nonchalant demeanor was becoming a bit uncontrollable. He rubbed his forehead and pondered for a moment. "Send it to Laura." The assistant seemed a bit troubled. "Kim, last time at the party Miss Lin accidentally broke a vase and has already been blacklisted." "Oh right, he forgot. I'm not going either." Augustine's gaze lingered on the bottommost note. "I was wrong to drink with you yesterday. I won't do it again." Memories surged forth like a floodgate opened. After the original political education teacher returned from maternity leave, Augustine no longer continued teaching. Instead, he started his own business. "I remember the first time I talked business. I had no experience and was overwhelmed by the other party." Diana watched as the business was just a step away from success, and took the wine glass from his hand, continuing to drink for him. In the end, the contract was successfully signed, but Diana ended up with a perforated stomach and was sent to the hospital. Augustine was very angry at that time, cursing in the ambulance, "Who allowed you to drink for me? If this contract can't be signed, we'll sign another one." Diana retorted without hesitation, "There aren't that many contracts available for you. Opportunities must be fought for." Augustine felt particularly heartbroken for her at that moment and secretly vowed to always treat her well for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, it was not even an hour before Augustine was called away by Laura's relentless calls. When Augustine returned early the next morning, he kept apologizing to Diana. "I'm sorry. It won't happen again. It won't happen in the future." Diana smiled and said it was okay. Perhaps he thought that Diana's character was one that he could easily manipulate. Once there is a first time, there will be a second. Diana was abandoned by him time and again. Augustine was stunned for a long time, his mind filled with thoughts of Diana, completely unable to focus on work. When he returned home after work, the house was as messy as if it had just been robbed. Laura was sprawled on the sofa, holding chips and watching TV. Meanwhile, Helen was bouncing on the bed with all her toys, having a great time. Augustine looked around and almost thought he had taken a wrong turn. He had an angry expression and asked in a hushed voice, "Laura, have you cooked?" Her tone remained restrained, yet the underlying dissatisfaction and questioning were palpable. Laura hooked her slipper with one foot. "No, Augustine, I can't cook." Augustine irritably tugged at his tie and lifted Helen off the bed. He sternly scolded, "No jumping on my bed. I have a cleanliness obsession." Augustine had a serious cleanliness obsession. Opening the empty wardrobe, he found not a single clean shirt. The laundry basket was overflowing. Inside the custom-made shirt, a few foul-smelling socks were stuffed. He almost blurted out, "Diana again. Didn't the clothes get ironed?" Habits can be a truly terrifying thing. "Laura, what did you do at home today?" "What's wrong, Augustine?" Laura straightened up and followed Augustine's gaze to the laundry basket. "Oh right, I forgot to wash the clothes. I'll go do it now." Augustine stopped her movement and patiently asked again, "What did you do at home today?" "I just had a nail technician come over. And a masseuse. They left just as you were coming back." Augustine was left speechless and had to call his assistant to arrange for a cleaner. Laura finally realized Augustine wasn't in the right mood, and she quickly hugged Augustine's arm and pouted, "I was wrong. I really forgot today. I promise it won't happen again next time." Augustine was always soft-hearted. He affectionately rubbed Laura's nose. "All right, I believe you." Yet, in his heart, he was thinking of another woman who had already flown far away. Chapter 5. In a new environment. Everything Diana felt was novel, even after several days. She would receive calls from Augustine using different numbers. He seemed particularly anxious. "Diana, where did you put the red checkered tie you bought for me? I can't find it." Diana paused and replied, "I don't remember." She was overwhelmed and simply threw away her SIM card. Getting a new one. 2 days later, Diana started her job at the firm. The process went relatively smoothly. Her major in college was originally architecture, and she was quite a prominent figure at school. Professor Wang, who taught architecture, praised her continuously, saying her sketches were particularly creative and full of spirit. Professor Wang said he hadn't encountered such a talented student in many years. He even thought she would achieve great success after graduation and invited her to return for a lecture. As a result of Augustine asking her to go home and wash her hands to prepare the soup, she almost unhesitatingly gave up her profession and the things she loved. She found it particularly incredible while sitting at her workstation, holding the heavy work badge. She would definitely carve out her own space in the world. The colleagues in the work area were particularly silent. Each focused solely on their own tasks. As for Lisa, who introduced her, she was her direct supervisor, serious and earnest in front of others. But behind the scenes, "Diana, what are we going to eat after work today?" Diana stood in front of the glass door with her arms crossed, looking at her suspiciously. "Did you let me off the hook?" Lisa immediately raised her hands. "I swear, I absolutely did not. I was shocked to see you. I was just lounging at home when my brother called me to come and take a look. He has been overwhelmed lately, and there have been some issues at the headquarters. But how coincidental. You were the one interviewing for my brother's secretary position. But what else do you need to let go of?" Diana was half convinced but ultimately chose to trust Lisa. "Congratulations to our Mao, the great architect, for finally getting back on track." The two agreed to go for Japanese food after work. Lisa was held up by a video conference when she got off work, so she asked Diana to order first. Before she even stepped into the Japanese restaurant, she collided head-on with a man who seemed to be in a hurry, and the milk tea in Diana's hand splashed all over both of them. The man also glanced at her hurriedly, covering the phone receiver as he said a couple of apologies. "Sorry, I have urgent matters today for the compensation issue. Please call this number." The man handed her a business card and hurriedly left. Diana was just about to look at the business card when Lisa came rushing to find her. She later forgot about this matter. The next day, Monday, the company was scheduled to hold a regular meeting. Diana was momentarily stunned when she entered the meeting room. Was it him? The person she bumped into yesterday at the Japanese restaurant. The man wore only a thin hoodie, his handsome brows and eyes shrouded in a faint shadow. He lazily twirled the pen in his hand, yet it was clean to the point of being pure. Lisa furrowed her brows and knocked the pen he was incessantly spinning out of his hand. "Hurry up. The meeting is starting." Diana felt an inexplicable unease as she fished out yesterday's business card from her pocket, quickly glancing down at it. "Robert," she was stunned for 2 seconds. Then her eyes widened. "Robert?" Lisa's younger brother. 2 years younger than her. Oh my goodness. I can't help but marvel at the wonders of fate. The last time she saw him was probably 10 years ago. Diana couldn't remember at all. Did she ever call him a little brat? Every Monday Robert would come to the office for the regular meeting. The day she submitted her resume happened to be a Monday, and it was Robert's secretary who interviewed her. During the video interview, was Robert watching from the side? "This is our company's new employee, Diana." Diana forced a standard fake smile, bowing mechanically. Hello, we met yesterday." "Yes." Robert curled his lips in a smile as he looked at her. His exquisite features lit up with joy, while Diana didn't dare to raise her gaze. Lisa's eyes darted back and forth between the two, squeezing Diana's hand and lowering her voice. "What's going on?" After the meeting, Diana packed her notebook and prepared to leave, but felt a chill creeping up her back. "Why didn't you call me?" The conference room immediately erupted in a chorus of teasing. "Oh wow, it's just a piece of clothing. You don't need to compensate me." Diana still forced a smile, pretending to care little as she waved her hand. "Then what about my clothes? Mao?" Robert got up and patted Diana on the shoulder. "Sister, remember to call me today." As soon as Robert left, Lisa came over. "Hey, I just wanted to introduce my brother to you. Do you remember when you used to chase after him calling him a little brat?" Robert cried several times, saying he wasn't a kid anymore. He also said he would come back to settle the score with you when he grew up. And now he's here to settle the score. Diana gripped Lisa's chin tightly, saying, "You are not allowed to speak." "Hey, I'm telling the truth. My brother holds grudges." When it was time to get off work, Robert was still in the office, not having left. He kept holding his mobile phone. Not knowing what he was thinking, Diana quickly packed her things and rushed back to the apartment. Leaning against the doorknob, she gasped for breath before taking out her business card and dialing Robert's number. It was quickly connected on the other end. "Haha, Chairman Robert. I don't know how I'm going to compensate you for your clothes," he reported in address. "Come and get it." Half an hour later, Diana appeared at Robert's doorstep looking radiant, but inside she was quite dejected. After Robert opened the door, Diana's gaze lingered on the plush cat in the foyer, and when she looked away, her eyes fell on the corgi that was eagerly jumping at her. The puppy was too enthusiastic, barking and smiling at her. Diana took the bag from his hands and turned to leave. "Hey, sit down and have some water." No, Chairman Robert, I still need to go back and revise my painting draft." "You are quite talented. Why didn't you come to the firm for an interview after graduation, but instead took a temporary job?" "Your graduate advisor is a friend of my grandfather. He often mentions you to my grandfather and suggested I bring you in." Diana didn't know what to say. Should she say it was because Augustine had previously asked her to be a housewife, and she happily agreed, taking a temporary job to pass the time, while preparing to resign at any moment to become a housewife? Sometimes she really wished she could travel through time and punch her past self to death. "Why are you so stupid?" Ha. "I was dealing with some personal matters for a while and couldn't get away. Now that I'm free, it's not too late." Diana's cold and distant smile suddenly made Robert very unhappy. In his usual lazy moments, Robert didn't feel it, but when he leaned in closer, even his breath became particularly dangerous. Diana finally realized that Robert was no longer a little kid. "What did sister say?" The word sister startled Diana so much that her goosebumps fell all over the place. "Chairman Robert, I will return the clothes to you tomorrow." Diana fled like the wind. After Diana completed her first project at the company successfully, Lisa suggested going to a nearby bar to dance, to celebrate that you have finally escaped from the sea of suffering. Lisa couldn't hold her liquor. After a few glasses of whiskey, she was drunk. She happily started spending money on male models. Diana also got tipsy, leaning on Lisa and laughing the whole time. The manager changed several batches of male models, but Diana was not satisfied with any of them. Casually glancing aside, she noticed a man in a suit sitting by the bar, his gaze calm, his pale fingers resting casually on the glass, his long legs naturally crossed. Diana was instantly captivated, unable to find her bearings, and approached with a half-finished bottle of wine in hand. Diana grabbed the man's arm. "Hey, Chairman Robert, what are you doing here?" "Chairman Robert, how much do you charge for a night?" "I have money. You can name your price." The manager who brought over another batch of male models saw Diana linking arms with the prince, and kept lamenting, "Oh dear miss. These are not our people. Please come over quickly." But Diana held the man's neck tightly, refusing to let go. Biting down on his chin, "I want him." Robert curled his lips, a half smile as he grasped Diana's restless hand. "You want me?" His dark eyes contained a fiery brilliance. And in the next moment, Robert gently caressed Diana's nape and leaned down to kiss her. Diana's mind was already in chaos, and now her bones felt like they were melting. "Yes, I want you." Diana unsteadily fished out a thick wad of cash from her bag and stuffed it into Robert's partially open collar. Diana leaned against his shoulder, her face flushed as if it were about to bleed. "Chairman Robert. Ah ha ha ha. I didn't expect you to be a male model too. What on earth are you doing here?" She picked up the half-empty bottle of wine and pressed it against Robert's chin, pouring it in forcefully, laughing charmingly, while tears uncontrollably streamed down her face. What happened? Diana didn't know either. Robert snatched the bottle from her hand and placed it on the bar. "Spend one night with me, and I'll tell you why." "Okay, sister? All right. Let's go next door." Everything around blurred. Everything carries an extreme allure. Robert lifted Diana up around the waist and took a deep look at Lisa, who was stuck in the booth and too drunk to get up, instructing the manager beside him, "Take good care of my sister and send her home." Coincidentally, the hotel next door is under Robert's name. He booked a presidential suite. Robert had no intention of doing anything with Diana. She obediently sat on the edge of the bed, tilting her head back and looking at Robert with a silly smile. Robert twisted the hot handkerchief, just finished wiping Diana's face clean, and her tears ran out again disobediently. "Didn't they say when we were young that growing up would make me beautiful? Why is it that now that I've grown up, I've only achieved this little?" Diana's pair of watery eyes seemed to be shrouded in the misty rain of the Jiangnan water town. With just one glance, Robert felt heartache. "I want to kiss." "Robert, do you like me?" Diana raised an eyebrow, asking almost seductively. It was like a temptation. Robert was uncontrollably ensnared, thinking he could maintain control. But the next second Diana tilted her head and kissed his Adam's apple, igniting Robert completely like a spark from a star. Rationality was dragged into the abyss of obsession. The next day Robert woke up to find the bedside already empty. Diana was flustered in front of the dressing mirror, hurriedly putting on clothes, but her stockings were torn into noodles, making them impossible to wear. Robert lifted the blanket, and his dazzling 8-pack abs made Diana gasp, almost crying out, You, hurry up and get dressed." Diana frustratedly rubbed her temples, never expecting that her first night after being reborn would be with a little brat. Her gaze fixed on the spots of blood on the white sheets. Diana was so embarrassed that she hurried over to cover them with the blanket. She absolutely hated her habit of getting so drunk that she couldn't remember anything. Her mind was filled only with fragmented memories. For example, she called Robert a male model or something. Oh my, she was so bold. Robert handed her a bag. "Wear this." "I don't want to." "Why did you come to Sea City? Lisa said you were engaged to that one. Why didn't you go to the engagement banquet?" Robert stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, leisurely watching Diana, his deep voice tinged with desire. Diana quickly ran to the bathroom as if escaping, getting dressed in a flash. Hearing Robert's question but not knowing how to respond, she splashed cold water on her face and looked up at her reflection in the mirror. Her eyes were filled with emotion, glistening like the red tip of a peony. Diana feigned wiping away a tear. "It's just, he doesn't love me." Robert believed it to be true. He accepted the lighter and wanted to ask more. But Diana was already dressed and quickly stuffed all the cash into his hands. "This matter is just between you and me. Make sure no one else knows. Is it agreed that I'll buy you for one night, with 18,000 plus an additional 8,000 for the room fee?" She turned and left, not even looking back. When she arrived at the company, Lisa kept rubbing her temples. She couldn't remember what happened last night. She woke up to find herself in the big bed at home. Then Robert sent her a message, ordering her not to drink alcohol anymore. She cried out in distress when she saw Diana come and asked, "Diana, where did you go last night? Were you bullied?" Diana's face turned red instantly. Does being bullied by Robert count? She didn't dare to say it, biting her lower lip and shaking her head. "That's good. That's good. Thinking that this matter was settled, Diana went on her business trip with a clear conscience. She attended a charity event but caught sight of a familiar figure in the secluded garden behind the banquet hall. It was Laura, kissing a corporate executive, unable to part ways, looking around to ensure no one was watching. Boldly reaching into the other person's clothing and groping, Diana recognized that executive, notorious for being henpecked. His wife was extremely jealous. In the past, when the executive got someone else pregnant, his wife directly took that woman to the hospital for an abortion. She discreetly raised her mobile phone to record a video. After quietly watching for a while, she silently left. Indeed, she was not one to adhere to traditional wifely duties. Since she dared to seduce Augustine when she had a husband, it was not surprising that she acted this way now. She has always been this kind of person. Diana forced down her nausea and went to the bathroom. When she came out, she ran into Augustine, whom she hadn't seen in a long time. Augustine had just thought she looked familiar, but he didn't expect it to really be Diana. Diana had completed her business trip task and originally planned to leave after just washing her hands. But in the end, fate had other plans. Diana was dressed to the nines tonight, wearing a little pink slip dress paired with pearl accessories. Looking both delicate and beautiful, Augustine nervously swallowed, reaching out with his long arms, wanting to hug Diana. Diana slapped him hard. Your new flame is out there. Kim, why don't you go find your new flame instead of coming to me? She shook the remaining water off her hand, splashing it onto Augustine's face. He was a bit angry. Diana, have you had enough of this? If you're done, come back with me. In his anger, he didn't forget to grab Diana's wrist. Laura's voice came through at that moment. Diana, what are you doing here? I missed you so much. Where have you been? Her expression was grim, yet she maintained a fake smile. The lipstick on her lips was nearly gone, which shows how desperate she was. Miss Lin's waist is really slim. No matter how short the arms are, one can still embrace her in one go. Her heart raced instantly. Diana wouldn't have seen something, would she? Diana said nothing more and walked away. As she walked out of the corridor, she saw the boss's wife standing next to him, chatting with someone. Diana thought for a moment and slipped into the control room from the side. Just as she was about to speak, she saw a young master casually spinning a lighter in a swivel chair. Robert? What are you doing here? Why didn't you go out and greet them at the charity event? Everyone wants to curry favor with you. Robert held Diana's hand, smiling gently. I don't like this kind of occasion. Diana withdrew her hand, pushed his swivel chair away, cut off all the power, and changed the display on the big screen to the video they had just filmed. Before the security guard rushed in, Diana reconnected the power, and the kissing video suddenly appeared in front of everyone without warning. Diana stood up to go and lock the door. No one will come in. I've already given them a heads up. Just a door away. Diana could already hear the screams and shouts. Who is this woman? Who is this woman? Diana leaned against the door and saw Laura walking out with an innocent look on her face. And then that woman rushed up and tackled her, swinging at her face left and right. I don't even know when the situation calmed down. Laura became the laughingstock of everyone overnight, bringing shame upon herself. By the time Diana returned to the hotel, it was already midnight, and just as she wrapped herself in a soft bathrobe, Robert called. From the sound of it, he had drunk quite a bit. Diana couldn't hear what he was saying at all, and the phone was taken away by someone next to her. Hello, miss. This is XX Hotel. We are about to close, but this gentleman has had too much to drink. Could you please come by? All right. Diana finally settled the bill, helped him to a nearby bench, and he started to cry, crying and laughing at the same time. His expression was very serious, looking at Diana with utmost sincerity. What's wrong? Diana was amused by his comical appearance. Why did you toy with my feelings? When did I? Last time you got drunk, you mistook me for a male model, and then you slept with me and just ignored me. How can someone like you exist? How can someone like you be real? I'm very sad. Sister. This sentence sister made Diana feel overwhelmed. Robert held Diana tight, tears streaming down onto her collarbone. Sister, can't you like me? Are you still thinking about Augustine? I don't care who you have in your heart. But can you give me a chance? Robert's eyes sparkled, pouting as he looked at Diana. He gave no one the right to refuse. Do you still remember our first meeting? Diana could hardly remember, but Robert did. The first time I met Diana was in the yard of Robert's house. That year, Diana was 17, and Robert was 16. She was stuffed full of snow by Lisa and was too cold to lift her neck. Girls settle scores on the spot. Lisa, are you trying to freeze me to death? Her hair tips, like wheat ears, shone brightly under the reflection of the snow. Later, Diana didn't want to go to piano class and ran to Robert's house to avoid trouble. Shoo! Diana accidentally bumped her head against the table with a thud. She still endured the pain hid in Robert's wardrobe. Diana's parents rushed in with brooms, angrily threatening to skin Diana alive. She had been hiding for too long, and Diana accidentally fell asleep. Robert will always remember that night was New Year's Eve, with fireworks reflecting in Robert's eyes. But all he could see was the sleeping girl. The evening breeze blew gently, a few strands of hair swaying, brushing against her fair and translucent earlobe. Robert cleared his throat awkwardly twice, stepped back to sit on the bed, and sketched this scene simply on paper. She turned around and hurried to find her sister, waking Diana. Although Diana still couldn't escape piano class, she had to practice at home on New Year's Eve to prepare for the piano competition after the holiday. 1 o'clock in the morning, the window was rattling from being hit by stones. Diana was still not asleep. She crawled out of bed, opened the window, and saw Robert and Lisa. Robert saw the little girl leaning on the windowsill, wearing a pure white nightgown, her hair flowing as she waved at them. Although there was a railing in between, it wasn't far apart. Lisa smiled and pointed at the fireworks in her hand. Robert pulled out the lighter to ignite the fireworks, which went off with a bang in the sky. The sky was filled with fireworks that fell into her eyes. Diana felt her eyes welling up. She will probably never forget her New Year's Eve at 17. The fireworks set off for her were grand and splendid. In the provincial basketball competition, Robert played as a key player. Neither of his parents went to watch him, and Lisa was absent due to an exam. Before going on stage, Robert, go for it. It felt like a voice piercing through light years, directly hitting the crown of his head. As soon as Robert looked up, he saw the fully armed Diana, even with a victory ribbon tied on her forehead. Despite the fact that Robert's team lost that match, he was happier than if they had won. After the match, Diana took out her wallet. Hey, let me treat you to dinner. I just got my bonus. It's my turn to treat you. How can a little kid be the one to treat? Robert grumbled, standing still and refusing to move. What? Are you unhappy because I called you a little brat? I am not a little brat. All right, you are not. Later Mao's family went bankrupt, and they moved to a neighboring province. The next time I saw Diana, she was already 18 years old, pushing a suitcase through the campus of be.So University. Her eyes were filled with anticipation for the new school, and Robert was one day shy of turning 16. Robert was sitting under the locust tree with a paintbrush in hand. In front of him was a huge canvas, when a girl suddenly intruded into his scenery. She disrupted his composition, and the girl smiled playfully. A boy blocked her path, and she shyly lowered her head. The girl didn't know what she had said, and the boy awkwardly ran away. Robert included Diana in his painting and took it to enter the competition. He even won a gold medal. Then, it was on a sunny afternoon, he heard his sister's frantic voice. What? You're with your teacher? No way. What do they look like? Is this it? So average. Diana, your taste has really declined. Robert couldn't quite explain how he felt. In any case, Lisa asked him to go with her to the neighboring province, and without a second thought, he refused. As the fallen leaves swirled down, Diana playfully tapped his head. I remember. There was a time I slept in your wardrobe, and my bones almost fell apart from it. Goodness, you didn't even help me move a bit. Diana helped him sit up and went to the nearby cart to buy a bottle of mineral water. When he turned around, he saw Robert with his head drooping, tears still lingering at the corners of his eyes. A dense pain rose up in Diana's heart. She knew that it was heartache. She didn't want to be confined by rules and wanted to live for herself just once. The cold winter hurried past. and the new buds of early spring revealed themselves on the branches. Spring passed and autumn came. The desolate autumn wind blew the golden ginkgo leaves, swirling down to the girl's side. Oh no, to be precise, it should be a young and beautiful woman. She has been in City C for a year. Work has been particularly smooth. In just 1 year, she was promoted twice. She has become an architect capable of standing on her own. Diana's several works have been featured in the magazine's inner pages and have become popular check-in spots. The colleagues at the firm look at her with new respect. She held the magazine, tears welling in her eyes as she carefully traced the name in the lower right corner. Designer, Diana. Things have been developing in the way that Diana had hoped, embracing her new life, even if the road ahead is difficult. In her previous life, Diana became a housewife at the age of 27, devoted to managing the household. Every time she attended a gathering, those wealthy women would mock her, saying she was the hired nanny of the Kim family. Diana gradually lost herself amidst the laughter and discontent. She also abandoned the things she liked and excelled at. In this life, she was determined to use those skills to carve out her own little world. Little did she expect that the day she would see Augustine again would come so soon. When the front desk's Shaoli delivered a thick stack of envelopes to Diana, he said, "They're all from the same place. Take a look." Diana thanked him and took the envelopes. As expected, they were all written by Augustine. He said he drowned his sorrows in the bar every night, thinking of Diana every day, and would often look through old photos. Almost 365 days. I write every day. Diana's gaze lingered on the last sentence. Where are you? Why did you leave so decisively? Diana? Being indecisive has never been Augustine's character. He taught Diana that it's better to do things neatly and efficiently. What is he making a fuss about now? Moreover, with Augustine's abilities, finding Diana's location was a piece of cake for him. Sure enough, on the first day of the new year, Diana met the weary Augustine downstairs at the apartment. I've become so disheveled that I haven't even shaved my beard. He wrote so many letters, all of which sank without a trace. He simply couldn't sit still. Augustine stopped in his tracks, sizing up Diana for quite a while, until Diana was about to enter the apartment building. When he called out to her, "Diana, you seem to have lost weight. Are you not eating or sleeping well?" Diana ignored him and walked straight into the apartment building. Pressing the elevator button, Augustine carefully inquired, "Diana, I saw your interview in a magazine. You're really impressive now." There is a very famous magazine in the architecture field that interviewed Diana not long ago. It is said that Diana's works are bold and delicate, with their own unique characteristics. Her designs are truly masterful. Diana remained unmoved, pressing the elevator button a few times with some impatience. Why hasn't this elevator arrived yet? Augustine was still chattering. Are you still mad at me? At that time, yes. It was me. I know it was wrong not to discuss with you about letting Laura move in, but you were the one who struck first. Diana lifted her gaze, and in the moment their eyes met, a hint of a smile appeared in her eyes. Really? Augustine, this has been a year already, and you're still holding on to it. I've already started a new life, and you're still stuck in that house? I really know I was wrong. No matter what, our engagement has not been cancelled. I promise to give your brother 3 million. As long as you agree to come back and marry me, I will call your brother right away. 3 million? Domingo really has a big appetite. It seems he still hasn't remembered what Diana said. Still like before, a pile of mud, muddling through life. Your family can't find you and is very worried about you. I also spent quite a bit of effort looking for you. Diana, for the sake of our past relationship, can you give me another chance? I will really treat you wholeheartedly. I promise. Diana stared unblinkingly at the numbers on the screen. Really? You and Laura have nothing going on? A red apricot out of the wall. A premarital affair. You two really are quite the partners in crime. She couldn't be bothered to waste her breath. Directly enlarging the photo in the album and holding it up in front of Augustine, it was a picture of him kissing Laura. Augustine's gaze flickered, stammering, a mix of confusion and anger. You investigated me? Diana held back her emotions, raised her hand, and slapped him. I investigated you? 3 years ago on the night of the first snow, You confessed to me in front of the wishing pool. I said I wanted to have dinner at the revolving restaurant in the city center every New Year's Eve. Don't you remember? You didn't accompany me this year, so you naturally forgot. Oh no, you forgot long ago. Augustine, do you remember? You promised me that you would accompany me for dinner every New Year's Eve. You blame me for missing the engagement banquet. Can't I blame you? You had an affair before marriage, slept with another woman, and still expect me to marry you, to remain steadfast? You boldly kissed me in front of the wishing pool, and now you blame me. I investigated you. Do you need to investigate me? Augustine like a thunderclap. The promise he made now struck him in the forehead like a boomerang. He had already forgotten the promise he had casually made. Diana had no intention of letting him off the hook. She saved the videos from the camera on her mobile phone and played them one by one for Augustine to see. Laura on the night she moved into the apartment. She and Augustine kissed their way from the entrance to the sofa in the living room. Impatient and reckless. The scene so steamy that Augustine dared not look. Augustine was the aloof and domineering CEO in others' eyes. Calm and composed, yet emotionally detached. Looking so disheveled and reckless was like being a completely different person. The video even contains the conversation from that afternoon Laura persuaded Helen to frame Diana. Laura intentionally grabbed Diana's hand and slapped herself. The video was so clear that even Augustine could feel the resentment in Laura's eyes. Promises only count when one is loved. What is said is always just a cheer for the current emotions. Augustine couldn't help but tremble, his hand shaking as he fumbled in his pocket for the cigarette case, wanting to light a cigarette. But he just couldn't get the lighter to work. He was anxious and helpless, finally shaking his head with red-rimmed eyes, repeating, "It's not like this. It's not like this. Augustine, I don't understand why you still come to find me. Do you want to coax me back to serve you? To serve your parents? You don't love me but want to trap me for a lifetime. Wanting this and that. A phoenix man wanting a beautiful young wife and a gentle older wife. You really are greedy. Who gave you that confidence?" Diana smiled and patted his face, then stepped into the elevator in her high heels. She kept an eye on things, pressed 2 or 3 floors, and stopped on the 15th floor. Diana climbed 2 more floors before finally reaching home. Augustine collapsed to the ground, thinking that Diana would always be trapped in this relationship, that she would never be able to forget him. It's easy to forgive him. He was mistaken. Diana lives well, freely and brightly, but he is unwilling to accept it. He rushed up to the floor where the elevator finally stopped, knocking on doors one by one. After hitting a dead end a dozen times, Diana heard his voice breaking as he shouted, "Diana, where are you? Come out! Come out!" She scoffed, called the security booth, and had Augustine removed. Augustine didn't want to leave, kneeling on the ground like a mouse begging during a festival. Everyone shouts to beat it. The neighbors heard the noise and came out to point and gossip about him. Diana stood in the stairwell, looking down at the once proud and arrogant man. In a daze, yet still in a daze, it felt like returning to a past life. In the end, it was still like this. Diana pleaded with him desperately not to leave. Augustine was so resolute and unfamiliar that she didn't dare to recognize him. The daughter, who almost cost her half her life to give birth, even turned towards outsiders. Helen had bad teeth, with a mouth full of cavities at such a young age. Diana does not allow her to eat candy, but Laura often brings various kinds of sweets to win Helen's favor. Helen Kim was extremely delighted, even provocatively calling Diana Aunt countless times. "Aunt, who are you? I hate you. Dad, I don't want Aunt to give me a bath. I want Laura Mom." She even unhesitatingly poured out the hot milk Diana had given her. In just a minute, countless fragments flashed through her mind again. If the heavens erased all her memories, Diana, would she still repeat the same mistakes? She can't save herself at all. No, she won't. Augustine noticed Diana's presence, and Diana turned to leave, only to run into Robert, who was looking for her. The atmosphere instantly froze. "Who are you?" Robert was the first to speak, and Augustine pulled Diana close. "I am her fiancé." "Who are you?" "Wow. Take a look in the mirror, old man." Robert's words were as sharp as ever. Diana broke free from Augustine's hold, smiled and said, "He is my boyfriend." Don't spread rumors. Robert joyfully tightened his grip on Diana's hand. Yes. Augustine shouted in disbelief, his eyes slightly red. And ultimately, he was dejectedly escorted out by the security. Diana waited until the elevator's numbers returned to 1, then came to her senses, turning around to see the seemingly smiling yet not smiling Robert. What are you unhappy about? Is it because of that man just now? Diana shook her head. Sorry. I just used you. It's nothing. I'm still quite happy. Diana tilted her head slightly. Looking out at the swirling fallen leaves, I thought I was such a perceptive person. But when faced with the chaos at home and my troublesome younger brother, I found I lacked the courage to cut through the mess decisively. I heard from your sister that there was a traitor within your company before, and you would rather lay off everyone than leave any potential threat. Starting over must be difficult. I should learn from your decisiveness. All right. I wish you success, overcoming all obstacles along the way. Robert's gaze was strong and direct, and Diana couldn't help but be drawn in, taking a long time to regain her composure. What did you come to find me for? Oh, my sister said that last time you went to the Japanese restaurant, you didn't get to eat fresh salmon, so I brought some for you. Are you always unhappy? You are great. You just don't know it. Robert knew this fact at 15, but Augustine still doesn't know it at 30. Whether it was the wind blowing or sand getting into her eyes, Diana's vision suddenly became blurry. What's wrong with you? Robert quickly bent down to look at her, only to be caught by Diana, who pulled him in and kissed him. This was Diana's first time taking the initiative to kiss him. Robert was taken aback, but immediately deepened the kiss. As the two of them fell onto the bed, Diana held him tightly. Sister, you need to spread your legs a bit. Diana's temperature was frighteningly high. She kicked Robert in the stomach and said, Do it yourself. After working until the next day, just as dawn was breaking, Diana couldn't hold on and fell asleep. At the company annual meeting, everyone has a partner. I wonder if I have one. Diana pushed his face away, but the scent of sandalwood lingering at the tip of her nose had not faded at all. If you want to have one, you will. Augustine changed his strategy and began to wait endlessly at the entrance of the community. Every morning when Diana left for work, he would be waiting at the community with fresh, warm breakfast. Upon seeing Diana, he would rush over joyfully. At noon, when Diana went downstairs to find a restaurant for lunch, she saw Augustine waiting at the company entrance with the bento he had made. Diana, can't you give me another chance? Everyone makes mistakes. Augustine, all you need is a docile and obedient wife. After playing around, you found that I was the most well-behaved. So you told me that you couldn't live without me. Are you sick? Augustine still persistently waited for a month. While Diana's ability to ignore and avoid the topic had reached its peak, she knew Augustine wouldn't stay for too long. For all company matters, big and small, he, the Kim, had to personally review them. The assistant hasn't been around for long and can't handle much. On an ordinary morning, the figure of Augustine finally disappeared. Diana felt that the air had become much fresher. Leaving sea that day was the 5th day of May, which happened to be the beginning of summer. I thought I would never come back again, but Domingo owed 3 million outside, and his father was unable to repay, ultimately falling ill. I heard that Domingo couldn't find Diana, and the number of debt collectors knocking on the door was countless. He was so troubled that he went to find Augustine, but was turned away by Laura, who also said many insulting things about Domingo. I heard that Augustine is going to have a wedding with Laura in 3 days, and she just happens to have to attend. Diana narrowed her eyes and gazed at the sky, the clouds dispersing into a thin mist. The tangerine yellow afterglow was hazily cast down. Sister, I want to go back with you. Robert wrapped his arm around Diana's arm, almost stumbling. No way. Robert didn't care what Diana said, insisting on following Diana back. My grandfather is looking for me. Diana couldn't refuse him, so she had to let him be. After landing, Diana hurriedly went to the hospital. At the entrance, Robert seemed to sense her hesitation. Just as she was about to speak, she saw her take a deep breath and walk in. After all, they are the parents who gave her life and raised her. Diana has to face this mess. Sure enough, before Diana could even enter the ward, She was hit squarely in the face with a pillow thrown by Diana's father. "You unfilial daughter. Get out of here!" She felt embarrassed and turned to leave, but was pulled back by Diana's mother. "Oh dear. My sweetie. Our family is counting on you. Your brother owes $3 million outside, and we've sold everything we have to pay back half. What do you think you can do about it?" Diana shook off her hand, stuffed it into her pocket, her face clearly displaying the words, "Stay away from me. Why should I clean up Domingo's mess?" Domingo kept his head down, huddled in the corner as if in repentance, but when he finally looked up, his tone was harsh. "If it weren't for you not marrying Augustine, I would have paid back my money long ago. What am I? Some kind of commodity? I made it clear before I left that I despise you. You are truly not a man." Domingo shouted hysterically, gripping Diana's neck, trying to choke her. "If you keep talking nonsense, do you believe I will strangle you?" Diana remains unmoved. It was still Diana's mother who finally exerted great effort to pull Domingo away. Diana's mother rarely lectured Domingo, said a few words. "I told you to stop long ago. You really have lost your mind, haven't you?" Domingo replied confidently, "I'm doing this for the family. After all, there are countless ways for this family. Domingo has hands and feet. He can work and earn money himself." But he refused. In the last life, it was the same. No matter how much I lost, I wasn't worried, because Augustine would fill the hole for him, until one time, I lost too much, and Augustine frantically vented all his anger on Diana. "Your whole family is just a bottomless pit." At that time, Diana had already been a housewife for several years, and it took immense courage to leave the family and go to work. She couldn't do it. In the end, she could only swallow her pride and continue to depend on Augustine. Becoming a puppet. Diana's father pounded his unfeeling legs vigorously. "Shut up. All of you." Clatter, clatter. "Are you trying to drive me crazy? Can't you be quiet?" After Augustine got together with Laura, the daughter she brought over, Kim, her family simply doesn't like her. "That child has an IQ problem, a congenital deficiency. Which family would want her? She's always making noise, and you just take advantage of the situation to snatch Augustine back. Why?" He glared at Diana and said angrily, "You unfilial daughter. We raised you with great difficulty, and now is the time for you to repay us for your upbringing." Diana's eyes were colder than a halogen lamp, and she narrowed her gaze, saying, "Good brother, it's not that I don't want to marry. It's all Laura's fault. She won't let me marry, and I can't do anything about it. Don't you agree? You know more about Laura and Augustine's affair than I do, right?" Domingo sniffed and nodded thoughtfully. She smiled and ruffled Domingo's hair, saying, "Good brother, you must remember what your sister just said. The debt collectors have become increasingly outrageous, bold enough to break into homes and steal anything of value, taking even the slightly valuable porcelain." Diana's mother noticed Robert standing at the door, holding a fruit basket and a bouquet. She approached him with a warm smile, saying, "Oh, are you a friend of our Diana?" Robert grinned foolishly and replied, "Hello, Auntie. I am Diana's." Before he could finish, he was interrupted by Diana, who said, "Mom, he is my friend's younger brother." Diana's mother still couldn't change her money-minded nature, hurriedly pulling Diana and advising her, "This one looks richer than Augustine. Think of a way to marry him. That way your brother's debts will be taken care of, and your brother won't have to worry about a house and car for his bride." A great sorrow. All she could talk about was Domingo, and Domingo had already caused them so much harm. Yet she still clung to Domingo. Diana had never hated like she did at this moment. "Mom, you're mistaken. He has no money. Everything he's wearing was bought by me. He has no place to live, and I even bought him a house. All the money is gone." Diana's mother immediately raised her voice to 8 feet. "What kind of unfilial daughter are you?" Diana avoided the hand reaching out to her, quickly pulling Robert away. "Come back here, Diana, you unfilial one." Chapter 6. "I have some personal matters to attend to this afternoon. Aren't you going back to see your grandfather?" "You should go." Robert looked back 3 times. "Really? Can you handle it by yourself?" Of course. During their last meeting in City C with Augustine, He secretly slipped a bank card into her bag when Diana wasn't paying attention. Diana only discovered it the next day while doing laundry. I heard that Augustine had a big fight with Laura after watching the video. The wedding was almost cancelled. But then Laura became pregnant, and Kim's family forced Augustine to give her a grand wedding. When Diana visited Kim's house, she also met Kim's old lady. The old lady had difficulty walking and believed in Buddhism and deities. She was very kind. In her previous life, she was the only one in the Kim family who treated Diana well. When she first married Augustine, the old lady lamented, "You are a good girl, but my grandson is not a suitable match." The old lady's hand was very warm, holding Diana's hand. Unfortunately, the old lady passed away in the year that Diana was pregnant. After her passing, there was no one in the large Kim family to protect Diana, and her life became even more difficult. The old lady covered her mouth with a handkerchief, coughing up blood from anger. "Get out. Our Kim family does not welcome you. Augustine, if you want to marry her, you will have to step over my dead body." She threw a pillow at Laura, but it was dodged and hit Diana instead. Diana's knocking motion paused in midair, and she smiled gently, "Sorry to interrupt." With a messy hairdo, Laura was furious the moment she saw Diana. She didn't know that marrying Augustine and moving into Kim's house would mean doing so much work every day. She couldn't cook, couldn't do housework, and was completely useless. The old lady and Mrs. Kim looked down on her in every way, belittling her every day. She wanted to annul the marriage, but she was pregnant with Augustine's child. She was powerless to protect herself, had nowhere to go, and lacked the ability to earn money to support her child, so she could only endure and let others take advantage of her. Previously, it was concealed that Helen was a premature baby with intellectual issues. "Diana, do you dare to come back?" Laura lunged forward but missed, almost falling and landing face first in the mud. Diana pulled her back. "The child must not come to harm. Isn't this what you've always dreamed of? The person you've always wanted to marry? You got your wish to be a mother. What's wrong? Aren't you happy? What are you here for?" Diana ignored her and walked straight into Kim's house. After inquiring about the old lady's health, I finally spoke to explain the purpose of this visit. "Bank card Augustine. I don't lack money. What are you doing for me?" Diana always wore a smile on her face, her gaze gentle. Augustine stared blankly at Diana, still looking disheveled. Hard to look at. Diana couldn't tell if he was laughing or crying. He looked down at the bank card on the table, his eyes filled with pleading. This is what I owe you. You don't owe me anything." Laura rushed over, screaming like a shrew. "What are you giving her the card for? Are you crazy? You should give me money to buy a bag. And you actually give her money instead." She held back her tears, pouting slightly. With a faint smile, "Augustine and I are getting married. The wedding is in 3 days. You must come." Diana had heard about this. Even if Laura didn't say anything, she had to attend. After all, she had prepared a grand performance. How could she not be there? Laura handed Diana an invitation card, hesitated for a moment, and also gave her a set of bridesmaids' attire. "As my once best friend, you absolutely must come to witness my happiness. If you don't come, I won't be happy." "Diana, you shouldn't blame me, right? You know that feelings are beyond our control. They are determined by the heart." Diana, understanding, gracefully said a few good words. "Don't worry. I will definitely come. You still have to be my bridesmaid." Augustine, unable to watch any longer, said, "You've had enough." "What? Are you having regrets? Don't forget, when you were kissing me behind her back, you said you liked me so much, that you had no interest at all in Diana. That boring woman. Have you forgotten?" "I haven't." Augustine, helplessly closing his eyes, couldn't even bear to think about Laura's level of madness. "Yes, I will definitely come. Don't worry." "Back in college, didn't we agree that whoever got married first, the other person would be the bridesmaid?" "Yes. In the end, I was the first to get married." The old lady leaned on her cane, unable to stop coughing up blood. Her back bent over as she trembled and called out Diana's name. Diana couldn't help but feel her eyes redden. She realized that whatever she did would be of no use. Grandma Kim, you must take care of your health. The old lady heavily patted Diana's shoulder and said, Yes, for your words. I must take good care of myself. Diana looked up and saw Helen standing at the railing on the second floor, still holding that little rabbit in her arms. I heard she has changed her surname and is now married to Augustine, taking the surname Kim. She has lost a lot of weight and hasn't grown any taller. The little girl's eyes are bright and sparkling, yet she cannot utter a single word. Mrs. Kim looked at Helen with great disdain. What are you doing out here? Hurry up and go back inside. This child hasn't spoken a word in over a year and has truly become mute. Being soft-hearted and being weak often appear at the same time. Diana always knew she couldn't be weak, but the moment she saw the child, her heart involuntarily fell. That feeling was both sour and bittersweet. She couldn't bear to look. Hastily turning her eyes away, Diana wanted to say something, but Robert's call came in. Aren't you coming out? Do you want to stay for dinner? Diana didn't say anything. After Robert finished speaking, she hung up the phone. My friend is here to pick me up, so I'm leaving now. I'll see you at the wedding in a couple of days. Robert's car was parked at the entrance of Kim's house. When he saw Diana come out, he waved. Augustine still relentlessly chased after her. You shouldn't come to the wedding. I don't want to hear you say congratulations. A late confession of love is worth less than grass. Sure, then I wish you a happy wedding. Diana's tone was cheerful and joyful. Augustine, consider this my last request, okay? Can you treat that child well? Since she is now taking your surname, and you are going to marry Laura, you are her father. She did not come into this world to suffer. I promise you. I heard that the old lady was moving away the next day, to a nursing home in the south of the city. When she left, she took Helen with her. On the day she left, Diana went to see the two of them. When leaving, Helen kept holding her hand, unwilling to let Diana go. Auntie, can't you really adopt me? Diana leaned down and adjusted her skirt. Auntie won't stay here. So she can't. Helen, Uncle Kim has taken you to many hospitals, and the doctors say you have a heart condition. Helen, your own life must be in your own hands. Don't rely on others, okay? She seemed to understand but didn't really. Diana didn't expect a 5-year-old girl to understand anything. But as for what happened next, Diana didn't know. 20 years later, Diana sat in the audience as an award presenter. That little girl had grown into a graceful young woman, shining brightly in her field of expertise. Aunt Mao, I am Helen. I have always remembered you. Thank you. Diana also heard Laura was very concerned about appearances, and after much persuasion, twisted Augustine into changing the wedding live stream to a provincial broadcast. The live streaming platform even posted on the company's Weibo account. President Augustine of the Kim Group marries a divorced woman with children. Laura. This topic was so explosive that it attracted almost all the media to watch the wedding. Laura stood by the railing on the second floor, looking down at the crowd with great satisfaction. Diana stood in the hall, locking eyes with her. Laura's expression seemed to say, Look, so many people are witnessing my wedding. Diana expressionlessly averted her gaze, surveying the surroundings. Beep beep. The ringtone of the mobile phone rang. Diana looked away and walked aside to answer the call. It was Lisa calling. Hey, babe, have you seen my brother? He went in place of grandfather. Diana scanned the room and saw Robert waving at her from the front row. Seeing that she ignored him, he hurriedly ran over. A handsome face was bobbing in front of Diana. Diana coldly pushed his face away and paused. No, I haven't seen your brother. He didn't come. Hurry up and let grandfather scold him. Robert clearly heard and shouted into the receiver. Yes, I didn't come. What my sister said is right. He smiled and walked around Diana once, saying, You look really beautiful today. Diana smacked her lips and accepted his compliment. The wedding was about to begin. Diana clutched the ring box, standing beside the spiral staircase, while Augustine in a suit stood across from her, calmly and indifferently meeting her gaze, his eyes swirling with an indistinct meaning. They maintained eye contact for a long time, until Laura appeared, and the venue erupted in cheers. Even then, Augustine did not look away. Diana raised her eyebrows in confusion, turning her head away first. her gaze lingering on the large screen that displayed their moments of happiness. 3, 2, 1. The large screen suddenly flickered as if it had been infected by a virus, starting to flash continuously. In the end, it unexpectedly began to play a video. The naked couple entangled together turned out to be Laura and her ex-husband, and the time displayed in the lower right corner of the video was exactly last night. The video quickly finished playing, and the scene changed to outside the police station. Augustine, bro, you have to say, Diana really is something. Saying she wouldn't come to the engagement banquet and then calling the police to say we were harassing her. Augustine, bro, what if she really breaks up with you? What will you do? The woman's restless hands kept reaching for the man, growing bolder, even slipping inside his shirt in public. Laura's body also kept rubbing against Augustine. Augustine took a deep drag from his cigarette, gripping Laura's chin, leaned in to kiss her. Then you should marry me. The 15-second video played back and forth repeatedly, and Augustine felt as if his heart had turned to ashes. Laura stood in front of the screen. It's not like that. It's not like that. The people in the hall began to criticize her. Their congratulatory expressions were placed with disdain. How could this happen? She's actually the mistress. How shameless. This man isn't a good person either. Playing both sides. The unbearable words. The whispers grew louder. With video evidence, the proof was undeniable. Laura's explanation seemed so pale and powerless. She was at a loss, tears streaming down her face, wanting to instruct the staff on site to turn off the screen, but no one paid her any attention. Augustine, please let me explain. He approached me. I was drunk. I really love you. Augustine had long known that Laura was seeing someone on the side. He didn't care at all. At that moment, watching the video was utterly unremarkable. Hadn't I seen it long ago? It's just that this time the person involved has changed. Diana lost her ring and walked aside. Just as she turned around, she heard a gasp, followed by the sound of commotion in the crowd. "Ah, there's been a murder." It was Domingo who killed Laura. The dagger hidden in his sleeve had long been itching to be used. At the moment he saw the video, he charged onto the stage and stabbed Laura. "It's you who made it impossible for me to repay the money." "Yes, it's you." He had been under mental oppression for a long time, and at this moment, he was already delirious, even losing all rationality. He could no longer distinguish right from wrong. "I've killed someone." The entire hall erupted in chaos, with people fleeing in all directions. At that moment Augustine's world was gray. He could hear no screams. No sounds at all. Nothing could touch him anymore. He laughed maniacally, like a madman, fell to the ground, closed his eyes, and fainted. Diana was also greatly frightened, her limbs weak and unable to move. Robert concernedly asked from the side, "Are you okay?" Diana's mind was already in a jumble. The scene was too chaotic. Robert glanced around, pulled Diana, and headed downstairs. "Let's go. We'll talk outside." Diana's body went limp, and she fell to her knees, her face pale beyond belief. Robert quickly scooped her up and walked steadily out of the hall. As they went downstairs, the ambulance and police had already arrived, but Laura had already lost her breath due to excessive blood loss, and there was no need for resuscitation, and Domingo was imprisoned for the crime of intentional homicide. Diana's mother cried and pleaded with those people to let Domingo go. Diana's father seemed to have aged 20 years overnight. He ran around among the connections he had made over the years, but not a single person was willing to help him. How to help? Spoiling a child is like killing a child. If it weren't for their years of blind favoritism and indulgence, how could Domingo have turned out this way? The two of them cried until they were physically hurt and ended up in the hospital together. Diana called all the creditors that Domingo owed money to and paid them off completely. The next day when she went to the hospital, the sun was shining brightly, and the weather was exceptionally good. After settling the old couple's medical bills, she thought for a moment and still decided to visit the hospital room. As expected, Diana's mother once again hugged Diana's arm, crying and saying, "Daughter, Domingo is our Mao family's hope. He can't spend his whole life in prison. Mom, he killed someone. Where else would he be if not in prison? You still don't realize your mistakes and think he did nothing wrong?" A human life is so trivial in your eyes? Diana had originally prepared a lot to say, but at this moment felt it unnecessary. Leaving a card, the money in the card is my last filial piety to you. From now on, we go our separate ways. Let's not contact each other again. I won't be coming back anymore. Stepping out of the ward, she saw Augustine at the end of the corridor. The oversized hospital gown made the man appear even more emaciated. It is said that the long-term partners of Augustine have also withdrawn their investments. They do not want to collaborate with such a fickle man who has moral issues. The Kim Group has plummeted. The company's stock has crashed. Employees are resigning en masse, and the remaining liquid funds are nearly depleted after paying salaries. Augustine's eyes revealed a glimmer of hope. Diana, you are not. Diana did not linger and turned directly around. A despondent voice came from behind. I'm sorry. Diana left without looking back. As she walked out of the hospital, she thought that these 3 words should be said to the Diana of her past life, to the Diana who was trapped in Kim's house. Fortunately, she has come out. The years pass. Spring goes and autumn comes. Another year has gone by. In the golden autumn of her 30th year, the highest honor in the field of architecture, the Gem Award, was won by Diana. After the award ceremony, Robert proposed to her. He said, "Sister, please accept my ring." Diana was at a loss whether to laugh or cry, yet her eyes unknowingly began to redden. He tilted his head slightly and softly called out, "Sister, so, will you marry me?" Diana agreed to him. "I do." Diana and Robert got married. The wedding was grand. Lisa was crying so hard, with snot and tears, that she couldn't move. My younger brother actually got married before me. Diana, I knew there was something going on between you and my brother. A woman's intuition. Boo-hoo. Lisa reached out and hugged Diana without letting go. Seeing you happy makes me happy too. Diana also cried. Augustine did not come, but she received his red envelope. While counting the gift money, Diana received his call. You look beautiful today. Diana, I wish you happiness. Yes, I will. And you must live well too. Diana guessed he must have rolled his eyes. Then he quietly hung up the phone. Diana turned to look at Robert, who was standing by the window making the bed, and smiled. In this life, I must be truly happy. Epilogue. Augustine. The first time I saw Diana was in the photo that grandfather handed to me. The girl in the photo was holding 2 bouquets of fresh flowers, staring at the camera with a radiant smile. Her warmth and brightness seemed to penetrate the photo. Augustine. Her name is Diana. Her grandfather has done me a favor. So if you ever meet her, you must take good care of her. At that time, I was thinking, how could the world be so small? I thought I would never meet her in my lifetime. But on my first day at B University, at the airport, a clumsy girl suddenly burst into my view. She is different from the girls I knew before. Her good grades do not match her appearance. I have fallen, and so has she. But many times I can't tell whether my feelings for Diana are love or responsibility. Is it because of the words my grandfather said before he passed? Or something else? I often can't distinguish. So when I rekindled my old flame with Laura, I felt it was only natural. You know, men. Diana said, you are no different from a beast. I forgot the promise made on the night of the first snow. I forgot how deeply I once loved Diana. I forgot that I once summoned hundreds of drones to spell out Diana's name in the sky. I wanted the whole world to know that Diana is my woman. I also forgot how incredibly happy I was when I placed the ring on Diana's hand. She resolutely decided to break up with me and cancel the engagement banquet. In the end, she severed all ties with me and moved out of the apartment. When she left, she even left the ring on the table. At that moment, I was truly furious and confused. How could I have said such things? In fact, I wanted to tell her countless times that it was not my intention. Laura maligned her for giving the child something they were allergic to, and I also blamed her without distinguishing right from wrong. After Diana left, I went mad thinking about her, but subconsciously, I still felt that Diana would not leave me. As long as I could coax her a little or buy her some gifts, she would be able to come back to my side. But this time it seems really different. Diana has slipped out of my control, and I can't find her. I want to win her back. Actually, I don't believe in gods or Buddhas, but countless times when I close my eyes and make a wish, I always say, "Heaven, please let Diana come back." Then she came back. I also saw Robert, a man who can be described as spirited, yet also mature and steady. As I stepped out of the banquet hall, I was just about to call out Diana's name. I saw her standing under the streetlight, tilting her head back and smiling at him. The man held Diana's high heels in one hand and linked her arm with the other. How long has it been since Diana smiled at me like that? Several years. Ever since Laura appeared. The most I've seen are her tears and the redness around her eyes, and countless nights of arguments. The more she cried, the louder she became, and the more annoyed I felt. She even spoke ill of herself in front of others. But Diana wasn't at fault at all. I was too harsh on her. I was nitpicking. My legs felt as if they were filled with lead, frozen on the steps. The moment Diana closed the car door, I rushed forward without thinking and pulled her down from the car. Robert also wanted to follow her down, but was stopped by Diana. "Wait a moment. Just hold on." She was very gentle. Then she turned around and slapped me. I impatiently grasped her hand and asked, "Are you serious? How long have you known him?" "I am serious, and I have known him for over 10 years. In that moment, I completely erupted, and I felt something shatter deep within me. She really left me. She truly no longer loves me. It was no longer a matter of what I could use to win her back. It turns out that when I didn't trust her back then, my heart felt this way. I can't catch my breath. Diana didn't look at me again and left. I spend my days drinking, hiding in the bar, living in a dark and hopeless existence. When I'm drunk, I sleep, and in my dreams, it's all about Diana. She stood at the airport, looking at me apologetically in her beautiful dress, the way she almost fell while wearing high heels, and the way she succumbed to my teasing, and how she cried with red eyes, telling me she must have been blind to fall for me. Like a series of episodes playing back and forth in my dreams. After half a month of living in a daze, Laura came to find me. She said she was pregnant. I scoffed. "Who knows whose child you're carrying? The CEO's or someone else's?" She slapped me hard and demanded that I take responsibility. She even calculated the timeline carefully in front of me. "Well, 80% is mine. I don't want to marry Laura, but there's no way out. I really regret not arriving on time for the engagement banquet and instead listening to your nonsense." I knelt by my grandfather's tombstone night after night. I cowed out hundreds of times, hoping my grandfather would help me, even if my forehead was red, swollen, and bruised, even bleeding. I didn't stop. I really know I was wrong. "Grandfather, I have let you down. I did not fulfill your last wishes before you passed away." It also brought endless pain to Diana. In the end, I completely couldn't get up and collapsed to the ground. "I'm sorry, Diana." I begged Diana not to come to the wedding, but she still came. She was linked arm in arm with Robert. Raising the invitation card in her hand, "Your fiancé invited me. You must be truly happy." Another bloodbath at the wedding. The moment the dagger plunged into Laura's abdomen, the scream almost made my ears ring. My mind went completely blank. Is this my retribution? Kim's family also went bankrupt. The company's unfinished deals, one after another, were shockingly large. I almost exhausted all my connections just to barely escape a disaster. The last time I saw Diana was in the hospital. I watched her back and said many apologies, but she never turned back. I knew this was my retribution. This is the punishment she left for me, to atone for my sins with the rest of my life.